but it's not going to go away. We're going to be dealing with this for months and years in the county.
We're just trying to figure out how we're going to go forward from here.
Everybody is together, and we're, as Pat said, onward and upward, and we will do this. We will rebuild.
Today marks 1 month since multiple fires raged across the North Bay.
This morning, we're live across the affected areas as recovery efforts continue and people move forward.
It is gray, it is cool, it is drizzly here at Courthouse Square in Santa Rosa. A complete difference from where we were this time 1 month ago. Welcome to the 9. Mike and I are happy to be here in Santa Rosa, the scene of so much devastation in neighborhoods just 2 or 3 miles from where we are here at Courthouse Square. We remember that the days and the nights, the weeks really, that we covered the terrible North Bay wildfires, and here we are. It's a new page.
You know, on the drive up, it was hard for me not to think about the more than 40 people killed, all of those who are injured, who still remain in the hospital, about the nearly 9,000 structures destroyed, many of them homes just around the corner from us here in downtown Santa Rosa, about the tens of thousands of people who actually ran for their lives. But saying that, I also start to think about the first responders, the deputies and the police officers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters who help people run for their lives on that day. You know, I've been up here to Sonoma County at least a few times in the last couple of weeks, and, you know, I do get a sense of a little bit of frustration. You know, people are still displaced. Not everyone has friends and families where they can go stay with after their apartments or homes were destroyed. But there also, Gassia, is that sliver of hope and even more determination that individuals, that businesses will rebuild, and that the communities, not just here in Sonoma County, but in Mendocino and Napa County, that they are determined to rebuild and be stronger. And they were strong before a month ago, but that they will be stronger in the months and years ahead.
Driving up on 101, I saw numerous signs. Thank you to our first responders, hashtag Sonoma Strong. So we're going to be talking to some of the key figures you were seeing on our air in the days and the weeks, really, that the fires were unfolding. We'll talk with them. We'll talk with people who are now faced with rebuilding their homes and their businesses here in Sonoma County. Napa also heavily impacted. That's where we find our partner, Sal Castaneda. Good morning, Sal.
Good morning, Gassia and Mike. We are here in front of the Uptown Theater, and a little later on we're going to be talking to some business owners and some community leaders about what Napa is doing to get people back up here. It's very important, obviously, as Mike alluded to get people back in the economy, spending money again, because a lot of the people who were affected obviously have jobs. They need to go back to those jobs, and they need the economy to recover. I'm going to be speaking with someone and asking the question, okay, pretty much everyone in the Bay Area knows that, you know, Napa needs you to come. But what about the rest of the world? Napa is a region that has travelers from all over the world. Trying to get the word out, that may be a tough task. So we're going to talk about that a little later on. Mike and Gassia.
All right, Sal, thank you. Joining us now is the Sheriff of Sonoma County, Rob Giordano. Sheriff, thank you for taking the time this Wednesday morning. You know, the fire burned from Calistoga, the Tubbs fire, from Calistoga to Santa Rosa in about 4 hours' time. You've been a very busy man, doing a great job of what you do. But my question is, have you ever had the chance over the last month to just kind of sit by yourself, whether it's at home, at work, and think about what actually happened here in your county?
You know, it's funny you ask it that way, because things have just slowed down enough where you had a chance to do that, you know, and look at the amount of damage and think about what we went through. And you said it right there, how far it burned. It burned so far, so fast. Absolute devastating fire, and you think of how hard this community was hit. It also brings back how many people came together to make it happen, and how many lives were saved, and how fast we were able to put things back together to the new normal. We got a lot of years of rebuilding ahead of us, though.
You had several hundred people, over 1,000 people missing at times initially after the fire started. You were reporting on more than 20 deaths in your county alone. We saw you in multiple daily briefings. What was the most difficult time for you?
Really, the deaths were so hard for us. We were really concerned there would be a lot more. And the fact that 23 is not good, but it sure beats the more that could have been up there. When you look at the amount of devastation, the amount of homes that were burned, it's unbelievable.
You know, we watch you in the news conferences, you know, every day, it seemed like. And there was one line in particular that stood out during one of those news conferences, and I'm not sure what day it was, but I'll just say it. You said, so far in the recoveries, we have found bodies that were almost completely intact, and we have found bodies that were nothing more than ash and bones. You know, you have a difficult job, but Was that moment every day, giving those updates, probably the most difficult when it came to talking about those injured and those who have lost their lives?
Absolutely the part that hits you the most, and I'll tell you what hits you the most is your employees are out there picking those remains up, you know, having to deal with that and bring those remains back. And those same employees, 29 of our people lost their homes. And they're working. They were all working while this was going on. So it hits you on so many different levels, personally, professional, so many different pieces of the puzzle. But having done this job for a lot of years, I know what it's like to be in those houses, and I felt for them having to go in those houses.
So how are you today, 1 month out?
Today, we're doing good. The sheriff's office is back to the new normal. I say the new normal because things aren't going to be normal here for a while. It's not going to be ever what it was before. We're back to normal staffing. The county's doing a great job with recovery and rebuilding. Our job is really support now at this point. Our role was very big in the beginning, not as big now. But overall, the office has had a time to catch its breath, and the employees are dealing with their losses. And let's face it, 29 people alone in the sheriff's office lost their homes. Everybody knows somebody. Everybody's been impacted. This community was hit hard. It's not that big chunk. So everybody's kind of still adjusting to it. I think we're just getting to the slowdown point where you can kind of feel what happened.
What's the latest in regards to those individuals who are still reported missing? At one point, I mean, you were in the 900s.
Yeah, we actually have no missing people related to the fire anymore. We've cleaned them all. We've cleared the list completely.
What is your best advice going forward? You talked about Nixle. You talked about the fact not a lot of people have landlines anymore. What's your best piece of advice you'd like to give everyone this morning?
So your best safety advice is you sign up for Sonoma County, you sign up for Nixle, and you sign up for SoCo Alert. Those are the two systems we use in this county. If you live somewhere else, you go to the county website, you find out what they use for emergency broadcasts, and you go to your local law enforcement agency and find out what they use for their broadcasts. Go on the web pages, sign up, pick your settings. That's how things work today.
It's the modern way.
It is. It is absolutely the modern way.
Looking back on it, do you think, I don't know if it's alert fatigue, that some people get overwhelmed by the amount of alerts on their phones, but maybe the alert should have gone out differently on that Sunday night?
You know, we are looking at that intensely to see what better ways or if we could do it better. I'll tell you, we've already upgraded the service we have through Nixle to get that information out. Good. And I'm actually looking for more standardized responses in the industry, right? A way to get to the phones better. And I think we're going to see that in the future of these, because that really is the improvement point we can make here.
All right, Sheriff Gargano, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. It truly is. You know, not far from where we are here, the Tuesday after the fire started that Sunday night, I was in Coffey Park. And I remember talking with people who said, I'm going through my burned home. I want to see if anything survived, anything I can take back to my shelter. Right. And they were walking away empty-handed. Coffey Park, the scene of so much devastation.
So much devastation. And that's where we're going to find KTVU's Alex Savage, who joins us live now with more on this Wednesday morning. Alex?
Hey, yeah, drizzly Wednesday morning here, 1 month later after these fires, and we're here in the Coffey Park neighborhood, which, as we have told you over and over, was just leveled by the fire. I mean, pretty much everywhere you look in this neighborhood, you see that homes have been left in ruins. This is one of many homes that was destroyed. This is a single-story place, was a single-story home here on Espresso Court here in Coffey Park, and this was the home that Jeff and Stephanie Okrepke called their home for the past 6 years, and they're kind enough to join us this morning and sort of reflect a little bit about where we are. Thank you guys for taking the time. I know it's not easy. One month later, does it feel like it's been a month since you lost everything?
No, it does not feel like a month. It's hard to believe, really. We lost track of days in the immediate aftermath. The first week, it was hard to keep track of what was going on, and just getting up till now, we were just starting to get back up to speed of what our lives were like before, with work and family and all of those things.
Jeff, Stephanie, and their cute 2-year-old son, Tillman, you guys are all staying, I know, with your parents who are close by. Thankfully, we've heard this time and again, what a tight-knit community this is. So many people have family that they're able to stay with. So you have a place to stay right now as you try to get back on your feet. But talk to me a little bit about what it's going to take to rebuild your home here on Espresso Court.
It's going to take a lot. There's a lot of facets to it, a lot of moving parts. You have the debris removal, which is the big discussion right now, whether to opt into the government program or not. Mm-hmm. They're trying to move that as fast as possible because, as you said, it's drizzling, the rains are coming, and this could go, the toxins could go into the watershed. And then you have permitting issues, design issues, what contractors what labor are they going to use? Where are they going to house that labor? Where are the people going to stay in the meantime while their houses are being built? There's just so many things going on. It's hard to say right now just how it's all going to play out.
Are you getting any sense at this point, though, about a timeline? Is there anything down the road where you can see some sort of milestone where, well, maybe we will, begin to rebuild at a certain point?
I've heard people say that their goal is to have the debris removed by either the end of winter or beginning of spring, and then hopefully the soil comes in, gets graded down, and then we'll have lots able to be built on, hopefully by the summer. That's the goal. But like I said, there's so many things going on. There's no playbook for this. Nobody really knows how this is gonna work out. It's the biggest natural disaster that in terms of complexity of building that we've seen because of insurance, mortgages, and all of those things.
You have a little boy who's about to be 2 in a couple of days. You said, you were able to salvage just a couple of things. One of his favorite cars, I know, got burned in the fire, but you're going to try to have it restored. It's really those little things that you hang on to after something like this.
Yeah, it's you start to not care about a lot of things after this. You lose everything pretty much, and the stuff that you can go and buy again that you just had that you thought was cool, you can always replace. But it's the sentimental things. We were able to find my wife's father's dog tags in the rubble. The car you mentioned, which is an old 1950s pedal car, which was built to last, and my brother-in-law is looking to refurbish that. He works on cars. So yeah, we're hopeful to get that done and have a little bit of semblance of what we used to have, but just move forward, because that's the only thing we can do.
Lastly, and we're going to wrap it, do you envision Coffee Park ever returning to what it was?
I hope so. I really, really do. This was a place, pure Americana, families, kids playing in the street, biking down the street, people living here for 28 years, starter homes for new families, that kind of a thing. So I really hope it ends up the way it was, because this wasn't taken from us, or it was taken from us. We didn't lose it. It was taken, and we just want it back the way we had it.
All right. Jeff and Stephanie Okrepke, I appreciate both of you taking the time to join us this morning here. You're just one family of thousands who are in the midst of the recovery process, and as we know, a very slow process. It's going to take a lot of time for neighborhoods like this to rebuild. For now, we want to send it over to Sal. Sal, you're in Napa and talking about how people in that community are recovering. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Alex. We do have recovery right here that I can point out to you. Today is the first day of the Napa Valley Film Festival, and it's really kind of neat to see people lining up here to 9 o'clock in the morning for the first film of the film festival. In fact, at first they thought of perhaps canceling the film festival, but then they said, no, we're not going to do that, because this is exactly what we need to get the town back in stride here. In fact, I want to bring in Patsy McGoy from the Napa Valley Vintners Association. First of all, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you, the winemaking industry, obviously a $13 billion industry here in Napa. What are the vintners telling you about the fires and how they can get back on their feet?
Well, vintners are definitely telling us that business is down, not only what's happening right now, but looking ahead. They've had a number of cancellations for months moving into 2018, so it's really important that we get the word out that we're open for business. The Napa Valley is as beautiful as it ever was, that the wines still taste great, and we're eager to bring visitors back to our community and show them the warm hospitality for which we're known.
I was up here a few days ago, Patsy, and I heard that not only was it the fires, but after the fires there was really bad air quality, and that also kept people away. And then within 48 hours after the fire, you had a lot of cancellations.
We did, and while the fires were burning and those horrific images were being played around the country and around the world, people were thinking about, is that where I really want to be? But now that the fires are contained and the air is beautiful, we've had some rain, and it's just, Napa as you've always known it to be.
So Napa has visitors from all over the world. Now in the Bay Area, we're talking, all the media outlets have been talking about recovery. I think the locals, they know that, we need you to come out here and patronize the wineries, the restaurants, the shops. What about the worldwide effort? People come to Napa from, Europe. How are you getting that word out?
Well, we are grateful not only to people like you that are helping us to get the word out in the Bay Area and to the customers here that come up from San Francisco. They are certainly a very important part of what's happening in Napa Valley. But around the world, yes, we get visitors from China, from Europe, from all over the U.S. And right now, there's a couple of things that we're doing. Number one, we're relying very much on social media. It's immediate, it's beautiful and photographic, and there's a great way to tell a story. We also are working in partnership with our local destination marketing organization, Visit Napa Valley, and then Visit California statewide are helping to get that word out and let people know that Napa's open for business.
You know, when I drove up here the other day, I was on Highway 29, and when I drove in, I didn't see any of the devastation. In fact, it looks just as it normally did. I came to downtown, it all looks the same. So, you know, I think the word has to get out that this looks pretty much the same. Obviously, there's some neighborhoods that have been devastated,
right,
but it's important for some of those people to get back to work.
Absolutely. You know, Napa is a place that people come to relax, to enjoy the scenic beauty, of course, to enjoy the fabulous wines, the foods, the hotels. But if you have any fear that it doesn't look the same as it did or that people are suffering, you may not want to take your next vacation here. And we just want people to know that that's not the case. We're optimistic. We're ready to rebuild. We're ready to get back to business, and we want people to come and be a part of that, and they will have an amazing time.
Patsy McGoy, thank you very much from the Napa Valley Vintners Association. So, Mike and Gassia, as I toss back to you, there's a lot of activity here. Definitely downtown is bustling on the first day of the film festival, and it certainly does look like people are already out here having a good time.
Festival is a go. I love to hear that. All right, Sal, thank you. You know, I'm one of those individuals who still gets the newspaper every day.
Right.
This is the Sunday Chronicle that I still had, and I brought it because I counted 6 or 7 ads, big page ads from wineries there in Napa Valley as well as Sonoma, encouraging people, saying, hey, we are open. One of them actually is donating all tasting fees collected at the winery up until Thanksgiving to fire victims. That's Clou de Val there in Stag's Leap. And then this full-page one on the back, it says Visit Sonoma County. So the advertising campaigns are out there. They're doing their best to encourage people to go. I know my family and we always go to Sonoma County quite often to contribute, and we've been there the last couple of weeks. And I'll have a story actually about a big firefight that took place at Buena Vista Winery near downtown Sonoma. We'll have that coming up in a little bit in the newscaster.
Very good. I cannot get over the fact that we have umbrellas on standby here where we are in Santa Rosa. We've talked about the possibility of rain. Steve, we welcome this cool, wet weather. Certainly it is of the season, not like it was on this day a month ago.
Well, I think you guys will be all right, but you've had some drizzle or something, right? Light drizzle, light rain.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's about all you're going to get until tonight, thankfully. I think you've timed it just right here because there are some areas getting some very light rain. I know Cazadera's had 0.03. The heavier stuff, if you will, comes in later this evening tonight and then overnight into tomorrow. So this out ahead of it's pretty light, but take a look at Santa Rosa. You can see Windsor, Guerneville, back over to Bodega Bay. A little bit of coming in around Dillon Beach. So for some northern Marin County, parts of Sonoma County, there's been some rain also up into Lake County. Not too much over to Napa. It looks like it's much weaker there, although certainly you get by Yountville in the northward up to St. Helena. I think you'd have a better opportunity right there. But again, these are all really light. The back edges now move through Lake County, it looks like. So that we've had some light rain up there, a couple 100s. But now it looks like that band is moving through, so it should start to decrease pretty fast. Off the Marin coast, there's a little bit, but again, we really have to wait for this system to show up tonight. And it's out there. Take a look at it. I mean, it's going to get here. You can see that's a really deep system for this time of year. The front, though, is still offshore, so what's over us now is really just kind of the precursor. And there's a really good breeze coming up. And look at San Jose's already 60 degrees. Half Moon Bay, 59. So it's going to be warm towards the south and then cool and cloudy with some off and on very light rain to the north. But overall, our system arrives tonight. That'll give everyone some rain. There'll be some decent amounts, something we have to keep an eye on for areas, I think, Sonoma County, Napa County, northward over the next couple of days. 60s to 70s on the temps. But I think for the morning, we're okay. But by tonight, tomorrow, some rain, a little bit more Friday, but then a break on most of the weekend, you guys.
Steve, very good. Thank you.
All right, still to come right here on the 9. We're joined live by KTVU's Tom Vakar with more on the recovery underway here in the North Bay as Tom reports about a family. He's been following them since the fires. More from Tom Vakar right after the break.
I looked up and golf ball sized embers coming down my street at 30-mile-an-hour winds. Looked like something out of some Armageddon movie.
I went knocking on doors and ringing bells, but
this thing came
can only hope.
It came on quick, didn't it?
Absolutely.
I called my neighbor. I'm sorry to wake you up, but I got to wake you up in case there's a fire. 5 minutes later, Mike, run, it's coming fast.
It is a cool, gray, drizzly day. This Wednesday morning, we are live in Santa Rosa and Napa on the 9. Specifically, we're here in Courthouse Square, but throughout Santa Rosa and Sonoma County, thousands and thousands of families have lost their homes. They are 1 month now into the process of grieving and rebuilding, really trying to reset themselves for what we saw a minute ago from the Sonoma County Sheriff really is going to be the new normal.
KTVU's Tom Vakar joins us live now from Courthouse Square here, and I mean, you've been covering the story extensively since October 8th. Just kind of briefly your thoughts, you know.
Well, this is going to be an object lesson for a major earthquake. The same kind of scenario, massive loss of property, massive loss of housing. People should pay attention to these stories because add an earthquake and it's essentially the same thing. You don't have quite the fire devastation, but you can. And on top of that, all the other stuff. That's the one thing that I think is the lesson for all of us. The other part of it is that these are folks that, through no fault of their own, through no fault of officialdom or anything like that, find themselves in a god-awful situation. And there's a lot of help at the beginning. The question is, can we keep this up for the 6 months, year, 2 years it's going to take to recover? Because that's really what happens. People get a little bit tired of, you know, this disaster, we move on to the next disaster. For the Bay Area, this is a target that we must target to really help people. Otherwise, it's going to be a very, very difficult thing for many, many people. I'll give you just an example. A big shout out to Catholic Charities. They were going to close the last shelter, which closed yesterday down a week before, but Catholic Charities stepped in. There were still 76 people in there. They've arranged for short-term living, but only short-term living. But the center closed yesterday, and we were there when some of the very last folks left.
Catholic Charities is committed to helping these evacuees eventually find stable housing, but each case has its own problems. Consider Amy Lopez Trefoya, wife and mother of two, a caregiver who now needs care for her family. All they possess is on their backs and in the back of this vehicle and another one.
This is my husband's bag because his work stuff's in here.
Just before the fire, she says the owner of the home they were renting for years put it on the market, forcing her family to live in a hotel while they searched for another home. That hotel burned down in the fires that ravaged the North Bay.
What's a mother to do?
I don't know. Just trying to take care of my kids best I can.
It's scary, kind of, not being sure where we're going to be able to stay, what we're going to be able to do. Can't really even get a job right now because of the harsh situation we're in.
Like so many others, they are in rental hell.
There's 5 or 10 families there looking at the same place. And they're not even taking actual applications. They're doing a screening form first, having the owner decide. And our worst situation is that a lot of properties, they don't want pets. Even though there are service animals, they don't want pets. So that's our hardest part, is trying to stay intact as a family and not lose our pets.
The pets are staying at the Marin Humane Society, which took in 400 evacuated pets for free. A count now down to just 30.
When your world is turned upside down, to know that your animal's safe, to be able to give them a scratch behind the ears or feed them a treat has been really important for these people in sort of their emotional and mental healing.
But the next disaster is already in the works.
And preparing for what we're kind of calling the second wave of victims or second wave of homelessness.
When the housing market collapsed a decade ago, former homeowners instantly became renters. Many existing renters, pushed out by the new renters, became homeless.
And we're predicting that's going to happen here because we've already seen it, and it's happening faster than with the foreclosure crisis.
With winter coming, it's much like Carole King's song, "Too much rain a fallen."
Just pray and wait. There's, not much we can do. I'm still looking, so.
Hard for people to find a job, hard for people to find a place to rent. Talk a little bit, Tom, about the stages they're going through after a disaster like this. I mean, surely you had the anger, and maybe the anger is still there, but what's to follow?
Well, I have covered these things for going on 40 years now. Usually at the beginning there's a euphoria. We survived. For some people it's shock, for some people it's just denial. This didn't really happen. It's like when somebody died and you say, I can't believe they're gone. Then there's a period of pain, and a lot of people are going through that now. Then there's a period of anger when things don't go right, where the insurance company isn't talking to them correctly, maybe they're having trouble getting permits, family issues going on, so there's anger. Then there's this period that's not quite set in with most people, and it's depression. What in the hell are we going to do about this? And how long is this going to take? And that can lead to some, some very, very serious problems. Then there's a period of working through it, and then basically the turnaround and hope. But we're really early into these stages, and a lot of these folks are, doing it on their own, and that's a good idea if they can do it. But a lot of them can't. None of us really can. So it's important for people to understand once again that this is an object lesson for all of us. This could happen to any one of us. There are plenty of other coffee parks throughout the entire Bay Area, throughout California. And we just need to understand that by helping these people, we are truly helping ourselves.
Yeah. The strength of the community we need it today and in the years down the road. Tom, thank you.
Tom, thank you so much. I remember, the first night after the fires, we all went home and checked our own insurance policies. Yeah. We checked if we had a go bag right by the front door. You talk about preparation, you talk about survival, and then you talk about recovery. I met recently with the owners of a little tiny ranch in Calistoga that's really a second home for my family, and they've been through all those stages and they keep going through it. So in just a minute, I'm so honored to be able to bring you the story of John and Suzanne, the owners of Mountain Home Ranch in Calistoga, which burned to the ground. We'll talk about what they're doing today and where they'll be going next.
I've been a firefighter for 20 years. I haven't seen fire quite like this. We're not magicians, but we're going to do our very best to save lives and protect property. We're engaging this thing. We're taking it by the horns. We're going to be here till the job is done.
I think we're in full recovery mode. We just haven't seen the guests returning just yet. We're spending a lot of time and effort to notifying people, not only in the Bay Area, but nationally.
Thousands of low and moderate income hourly workers in Napa are getting some help from the Napa Community Foundation, vintners, grape growers, and individual donations. At the same time, small businesses are still sending out the call that Napa is open for business and welcoming visitors. And welcome to downtown Napa. I'm standing here in front of the Napa Theater where the film festival is beginning today. You might even see people lined up here. So definitely a lot of activity here in Napa. The film festival continues for the next few days. And Napa people want you to come up and visit. Recently I took a tour of some of the Napa businesses and spoke to business owners about how they are recovering after last month's event. The smoke is cleared and the vines are still mostly intact. This time of year, the Napa Valley is usually enjoying robust tourism during the fall harvest. Most people drive in using Highway 29, where you can't really see the effects of the devastating fires last month. However, since the fires, fewer people have been coming to visit the world-famous wine-growing region, taking money out of the pocket of local businesses.
We've seen a huge amount of cancellations from reservations with hotels, to restaurants, to tastings here in our wineries and wine tasting rooms.
The cancellations mean plenty of room at formerly hard-to-get-into restaurants, hotels, and wine tasting rooms. In downtown Napa at the John Anthony Tasting Room on 1st Street, we found a quiet, spacious lounge with plenty of wine on display and ready to taste. Across the street at Annette's Chocolate Factory, the shelves are stocked with chocolates in many varieties, waiting for customers. Many Napa business owners say the region is battling a problem of perception.
I can imagine why people would think that there's nothing left in Napa, but because the fires were pretty scary. But most of Napa is in great shape.
So it's been very difficult because people, when they saw the smoke, when they saw the fire, they immediately canceled vacations, weekend trips, day trips. And those are all the things that once again run our economy and the biggest part of the year for us.
But it's not hard to find optimism, especially with the locals.
A lot of people lost their homes, and that's devastating, and we just hope that they can get back on their feet soon with help and everything. But the city's still here, it's still going strong, and can't keep us down.
Napa County business leaders say within 48 hours after the Napa fires, 75% of hotel lodgings were canceled. So if you have ever wanted to come up and get a spot at a restaurant or, get something that is normally hard to get, maybe you have to stand in line for it, now is the time to come to Napa. According to business owners, they are ready, they are waiting, and of course you'd be helping out a lot of the people who are fire victims who are still going to their jobs. Let's go to Garcia now, who is in Santa Rosa. Garcia?
Hi, good morning again, Sal. The rain has started in earnest here in Santa Rosa, but that's okay because so many people are so happy to share their stories of where they are 1 month after the fire. I don't know if you were with us that Monday morning, just hours after the fire started. We talked by phone with Matt Gehring of Santa Rosa. He lost his home in the Larkfield neighborhood, and he escaped with really just minutes to spare. I'm so happy to be able to meet Matt in person here and say good morning. Thank you for joining us. You lost your home in the fires in the beginning hours of the fires. Where are you now 1 month later?
1 month later, we're living in Sebastopol at one of my clients' guest houses, pool house.
And it was because someone saw a need and said, hey, I've got a space for you, your wife, and your 2 children.
Yes, yes. This is our 4th location. First place was at an in-laws. Second place, the same client had a different property we stayed at for a week. Moved to another in-laws, and now we're here at this other place until the end of July.
How's the moving around been for you and your family?
Been hectic. For me, I've dealt with it, but for my family, it's difficult. We're living in grocery bags, packed into rooms, and there's no organization, no systems, no schedules. It's very, very challenging. And we're finally at a place now where we can organize our own things, the few things we do have, making it easier.
You have already planned to rebuild, and you actually have a somewhat optimistic timeline. You're moving right back where you were.
Yes, we are. We love where we live, and we want to rebuild.
And tell me about, when you told me when you left and when we talked on the phone, I remember asking you, what did you bring? And you said, kind of nothing. Looking back, did you have any idea that you'd be in this situation today?
Never. Never. At the time, I never thought my house would burn. When we left, I hosed down the backyard, the front yard, and thought, well, we'll just leave because we have to evacuate.
Right.
But never thought it would burn down. I never thought I'd be in this position ever.
Yeah. Let's talk about specifics here. Your little one, your 9-year-old, is at a different school. Your wife's commute has turned very, very long. Talk to me about the day in, day out that you're dealing with, aside from the insurance company, et cetera.
Day in, day out, it's just very stressful. We're out of our routine, different routes cutting through Santa Rosa, which we figured out. But it's the biggest stress factor is my wife's loss of sense of home, and my 9-year-old. He misses school. He actually likes school. Really enjoyed it. Brought his backpack and his homework with him when we left. And he's having a hard time adjusting because they've combined a couple schools, and he wants to go back to his original school.
That routine, it sounds like, is something that he's missing.
Yes.
When you look back over the past month, what was the most difficult moment for you?
The most difficult moment was waking up one morning and realizing that I had nothing. We went to our house and looked at it, and it was just complete ashes. It was a total loss. And part of a big frustrating factor too was the number of closures, because they were putting out the fires and doing what all the emergency services had to do, and that was frustrating as well. Wanting to get back to our normal routes and see our house.
And so, what was the first moment that you felt hope? Like, you know what, we're going to be okay.
When we landed at our 4th place, where we live now, out in Sebastopol.
All right, Matt Gehring, thank you so much for joining me. Let's keep in touch.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you're in that new home in about a year from now.
Great, thank you.
Very good, thank you. Certainly here in Santa Rosa, Sonoma County saw a lot of devastation. To our north, the story was very similar. Let's go now to Mike.
Thanks, Garcia. On Sunday, October 8th at 11:36 p.m., another big fire sparked up, the Redwood Valley Fire there in Mendocino County. It destroyed more than 36,000 acres, more than 500 structures destroyed, nearly a dozen people killed. Joining me on the phone right now is the sheriff of Mendocino County, Tom Allman. Tom, I always appreciate our conversations in person. I know you couldn't make it down here to Santa Rosa, but good morning to you, and thank you for calling in.
Well, Mike, thank you very much. Thanks for KTVU. They're staying on top of this, and I really appreciate it. Mendocino County, we certainly have been trying to go through the recovery effort. We've now had 9 deaths associated with the fire, and 2 of them brother, sister. And we're in the schools here, and so the schools are suffering. And we didn't lose infrastructure like Sonoma County did. We didn't lose any schools, but we lost well over 230 primary residences for people. And the recovery, I will say this to the state and to FEMA right now, and I'm going to give them a shout out. They understand that the hard rains are coming. Matter of fact, I think on Friday we're going to be getting a couple inches of rain, and they are really working with local contractors to get some of this disaster covered or the debris removed so it doesn't get into our very critical watershed areas. So there's a lot of people hustling up here, and Mike, I'm going to tell you this, and you and I have known each other for 5 or 6 years. I have not heard one person up here complain. People are just really and truly, they're just sucking it up and saying, let's move forward. Let's take care of our victims. We had a fundraiser this last Saturday that was put together by about 6 people that raised $250,000. That is money that's just going to be given directly to the true victims of this fire. And we're coming together as a county.
That's great to hear, Sheriff. Let me ask you this about Potter Valley, about Redwood Valley. What are your thoughts, and kind of take me there today in regards to people who lost property? Are you 100% sure that everyone's going to come back and they're going to stay there in that community?
Well, I've certainly talked to people who it's almost a PTSD kind of situation, Mike. It's no one could have fathomed this happening, and the same in Sonoma County and Lake County and Napa County. No one could have fathomed the magnitude of this. So those people who are coming back, they're certainly discussing that they're going to be building smarter, they're going to be building better and more fire conscious. One of the interesting things about this is, and I've been up here for over 30 years in law enforcement, and I've seen local fire departments have to take their sirens out of commission because of noise complaints. People say, gosh, we don't like that siren going off, whenever there's fire. And now there is a huge, huge try to return to those old-type fire sirens, air raid sirens, that are going to be immediately notifying the public. Because, Mike, we have one community up here that once a communications tower was taken out within 3 hours of a fire, the city of Willow lost all cell phone, all internet, all hardline, all 911 services. And so the communication to get those people was nil. And so I think you're going to see the return of some of these older air raid sirens that fire departments are going to activate. And hooray! Getting emergency notification to the public is what public safety should be concerned about, and that's what we're working on.
Hey, Sheriff, we got to go, but I want to ask you one more question real quick, and this is in regards to John Shepard and his wife and the story that they went through in losing their children up there, 2 of the 9 who have passed away. Is there one particular story for you? I mean, you are the sheriff of one of the largest counties there in the state of California. Is there one story from this devastation of your fire that just kind of sticks out in your mind?
We always talk about firefighting, and our fire engines go in there to fight fire. And early on, one of the fire commanders made an incredibly brilliant, bold decision to say, we are removing ourselves from fighting fire right now, and we are going into immediate life-saving mode. In other words, his firefighters weren't putting water on the fire. They were banging on doors, and they were dragging people and saying, get out of here to save your life. And if that hadn't happened, our fatality rate would be much higher. And I'm so proud of that decision.
All right. Well, hats off to all the first responders there in your county. Thank you, Sheriff, for taking the time. Wishing you the best in the recovery process for you and all your residents there. And I know we'll be in touch, Sheriff.
All right. Thanks. Come on back up, Mike. We miss you. Come on up.
All right. We'll do.
All right, see you.
Sheriff Tom Alm in there with the Mendocino County Sheriff's Department joining us live here on the 9. Garcia, we'll send it back to you.
Very good, Mike. I was so thankful to be able to go back to one of my favorite places in Calistoga just a couple of days ago. The North Bay fires have touched everyone. If you love someone who lost their home, perhaps you lost a loved one, maybe you just had a very special place in Napa and Sonoma counties that you went to that felt like a second home, and you were thankful to be able to enjoy that with people you loved. That was the case for me and my family just a couple of weeks before the fires. We were at one of our beloved spots, Mountain Home Ranch. I went back just the other day and found out that it had, in fact, burned to the ground.
21 years of my life, reduced to nothing in an hour is hard, very hard.
Suzanne and John Fouts survey what little is left of their beloved mountain home ranch after wind-whipped flames reduced the ranch to nothing in the beginning hours of the Tubbs fire.
We just can't take a 104-year thing and walk away from it. You know, it's been a tradition.
Mountain Home Ranch was an unassuming bed and breakfast in the hills of Calistoga, built more than a century ago as a resort for the working class, where everyone was welcome. You were under $100 for a little cabin for my little family of 4.
Right, right, yeah. So it's like, and we want to be able to do that, but if the county is going to make us jump through all these hoops, it's going to be tough.
John and Suzanne say they're running into bureaucratic red tape now around permits, accessibility requirements, and other things the ranch had been grandfathered under because it was there before the laws were.
It's exhausting. You know, some days are good, some days not so much. You know, some days it's just, if I can get through the day without crying the whole day, it's unusual.
Meanwhile, the mayor tells me tourism as a whole in Calistoga is at about half of what it was before the fires. Shops and restaurants are open, and owners are eager to recoup the financial loss that came when the entire city was under a mandatory evacuation order. Just 3 miles away at the ranch.
I didn't see myself at this point in my life doing this. We were looking at retirement, and our youngest son was looking at taking over more of the business and stuff. And now it's like, okay, here we go.
Though they feel overwhelmed at times, Suzanne and John also find themselves humbled by an outpouring of support. Longtime ranch guests are offering to help, from architects donating their services to a man with a fleet of box trucks who will help with clearing the burned debris. Money is coming in too. Donations have taken over their reservation page. The last time I was at Mountain Home Ranch was just 2 weeks before the fire. Even during that visit, we were all making plans to come back. John and Suzanne say they have no idea when they'll rebuild and reopen the ranch, but they know they will.
We'll do it one way or another. I just don't know how yet.
Never for a minute, Mike, did they waver. They thought, absolutely, we're going to rebuild. And as you watch that story, you really do see the highs and the lows that they have been going through, along with so many here in Napa and Sonoma counties.
All right, thank you for that story. Still to come, I head to the oldest winery in Sonoma County to talk about the firefight to save that during these fires. The 9 live from Courthouse Square in downtown Santa Rosa, right back here after the break.
I can't just sit around and cry and do nothing. There's stuff that has to be done. And I'm doing it.
Everybody has given up their time. Some people have worked 5, 6, 7 days in a row, volunteered their time. And that's the giving. There's more love in the air than smoke.
We lost the winery possibly 3 times. Friday night into Saturday morning is when the fire jumped the lines here in the Sonoma Valley and just exploded about 2 a.m.
The flames barreled right toward Buena Vista from the north, the east, and west. A firefight to save the oldest winery in the valley was underway.
When we have a chance to save an asset like this, of course, it's a very valued thing. It's an iconic location, so we're gonna put all our efforts into it.
There's an old reservoir that was built by the workers.
Tom Blackwood recently walked me around the property, pointing out the burn area right next to a building where wine is stored and made.
This is where they really fought it back. And I believe...
I mean, we're talking like 5 feet from the building.
Literally. Like I said, it couldn't have come any closer without burning the building.
The only thing is, back home in Chicago, all we're seeing is the devastation.
Despite that, Chicago resident Ted Natonik says he had no doubt about keeping his plans to come visit Sonoma Valley.
The hotel, everybody called me to let me know they're operational. So, no hesitation.
Blackwood credits every firefighter on the ground and in the air, every person who sacrificed their lives for saving this piece of history, a piece of history he hopes others will take time to come and see.
It's not just Napa, Sonoma, it's wine country strong. We're all affected by this, and we all want you to come back and see us.
Come back right now, and not just on the weekends, but the weekdays as well.
Right, wonderful. An extra drink, an extra bite. It's for a very good cause. We're thankful to be joined this morning by the Santa Rosa Mayor, Chris Coursey. Santa Rosa, of course, suffered some of the biggest losses in the entire North Bay wildfires. Also, Gary Saperstein with the Sonoma Valley Visitors Bureau. We'll talk about bringing business back to Sonoma, but first, Mayor Coursey, I'd like to start with you. When we talk about Santa Rosa, just miles from where we are here at Courthouse Square, you have Coffey Park, you have have other neighborhoods that were just devastated. What's the state of your city today?
The state of our city is strong and resilient, but we have a huge problem as well. We lost 3,000 houses, nearly 3,000 houses. That's about 5% of our housing stock. We had a housing shortage a month and 1 day ago. Now we have a huge housing shortage. So we are working toward rebuilding as fast as we can. We enacted some urgency ordinances that will get people back on their feet, that will get the bureaucracy out of the way.
This is bypassing some permits and that sort of?
Permit relief, fee relief, allowing people to put second units on their property, temporary units on their property as they build. You can put an RV on your property as you're building. We need to find a lot of places to live for the people who have lived here, for people who are going to be coming here to work. We already had a labor shortage before this started, so we've got complication upon complication from this fire, but we are moving to work on those complications and get things rebuilt as fast as possible.
There's a line in the Press Democrat this morning from you that says you're not celebrating this anniversary. And
no.
That's because of what you just said.
Right.
And the work that has to get done.
Yeah, an anniversary, it connotes a celebration.
Right.
This isn't anything to celebrate. We need to observe it and move forward, not dwell on what's happened in the past month, but really concentrate on the job that's in front of us.
Gary, there was a lot of, social media was a huge help for many the night of the fires and the days afterward. Yes. Unfortunately, some bad information got out about, the Mike Meback winery burned when in fact, no, it didn't. Give us the word today as far as Sonoma Valley, what's open and ready to take our dollars.
Absolutely ready to take your dollars. It's been the past, month has been, very trying, as you were just talking about. But we do have businesses are open, but at the same time, we're cognizant of that there are businesses that are still not open yet. There are people who are still out of work. We have one of our most iconic wineries. You were just talking about Buena Vista, one of our oldest wineries. Chateau St. Jean, one of our iconic wineries, was actually the first few days of the fire. It was reported that they were on social media that they burned down to the ground. That wasn't true. They had some damage. Fortunately, now this weekend they're getting ready to open, but they've been closed for a month. They need
at a critical time in the season.
At a very critical time. It's sort of the last of what we consider the height of tourist season for us. So they've lost that entire month. They need people to come and visit them now. That's what they need more than ever when they reopen on Saturday.
Mayor, what's your sense of your residents and those who lost homes and whether or not they're going to rebuild or even remain here in your city?
I haven't talked to anyone who's told me they're leaving. I have talked to people who say they're not sure, and I think that that's a reasonable reaction. We're still in the early stages of this. A month has gone by, but the recovery and rebuilding process is going to take a few years at least. So people are assessing where they are right now, and there's a lot of confusion about how to go forward. There are a lot of unanswered questions about insurance and those kind of things. So that kind of work needs to be done. But I want to just piggyback on what Gary said for just a minute. We're open for business here. All the things that you love about Santa Rosa and about Sonoma County and wine country are still here. The vineyards are here, the wineries are here. Downtown Santa Rosa is a great place to visit. So a lot of people want to help. One of the great ways to help is to come and visit.
It's interesting because when I was at Buena Vista, I spoke to a couple who were from Chicago, and they said during the whole fires, what they noticed was that all the images were just of the destruction, but then no one pulled the camera back, never had that wide shot. And I know you lost about 5% of Santa Rosa, but we're here in the downtown area. People are working, people are acting, the restaurants are here. Russian River Brewing Company, one of my favorite spots, is right down the road. So it is important to pass that along, I believe, to everyone out there.
Right, exactly. And that's the role of the Visitors Bureau right now. We are on a mission. We're into the recovery mode right now. Part of that recovery mode is getting the word out that we're open for business, that, and we want you to come here. We're welcoming, we're still here. Right. We're damaged somewhat, but through that damage, we are moving through that right now. And you know, we were going to shoot some videos. Actually, the morning of the fires broke out, we were all set to shoot some videos promoting Sonoma. Of course, we had to put that on hold, and then we changed the whole message. And about 10 days ago, we finally shot a new video with a whole new theme about sort of come to Sonoma, and that's out there on the airs now, you know, showing, you know, to let people know, especially in the Bay Area,
Definitely.
to come and visit us.
And far beyond, Sonoma strong, Napa strong. Gary Saperstein of the Sonoma Valley Visitors Bureau and Mayor Corsi of Santa Rosa. Thank you both for joining us on this 1 month mark.
And if there's anything you need, don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you for
We're
being
here for
here.
you.
Yes, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It has been a morning here. I just can't imagine that 1 month ago, the situation that was brewing. It's a clear, cool day. We're thankful to be here with you. Thank you for joining us live in Santa Rosa from Courthouse Square.
Our coverage of all the day's news continues right now at ktvu.com.